Good morning, everybody. How are you today? This is Heather Nichols for the Tailored Expressions Live this morning. I'm so glad to have you join me. Let me know when you pop in. I'd love to know where you're watching from, and I don't know, let's see. Like, do you have any crafty projects you're working on this week, or any big plans for the weekend? Because that weekend is here very quickly. For us, it's going to be here today because we're gonna go camping this weekend. Hi Cindy, it's good to see you. We're going camping this weekend with our camper and up to Bemidji, which is where my husband's family is from. So Cindy from New York, and good morning, Doreen from Tennessee. So Bemidji, Minnesota is way in northern Minnesota. If you look on a map, it is the first city on the Mississippi River. So that is where my husband grew up, and that's where I went to college, which is how we met up there. Hi, Martha. Good morning. And so we are going to camp up there with his parents and his aunt and uncle and just have a nice weekend. It's supposed to be rainy, so I am going to make sure I have lots of crafty projects, some games, different things like that. Candy, it's soggy in Duluth this morning. It is soggy here too. We have had kind of a rumbly thunderstorm morning here. I'm in St. Cloud, Minnesota, which is central Minnesota. So if there's any interruption to the feed, which I hopefully there's not, that would be why, because we have storms coming through. I don't know if we're done with the storms. It's kind of like, you know, they seem like they go and then another rumble comes through or whatever. So yeah, so good morning. Lots of you popping in this morning. It's good to see you. Yeah, Doreen, there is a lot of curling up in Bemidji. In fact, they had a team from up there in the Olympics. Like, this is quite a while ago. Many of you might be familiar. We have a good curling team from Minnesota that they're based in Duluth as well. So Bemidji has a great big curling center. I know nothing about curling. I have never done it. So, ooh, Megan is going to a scrapbook expo in Schaumburg. I know where Schaumburg is. I have been there. So that sounds like really fun. Yeah, Rita, you are from a small town in northern Minnesota on the North Dakota-Canadian border. Yeah, I know where that is. I know where that is. I actually, when I was little, my dad was based in Grand Forks, so that's where I lived there for a while. I was very small, but I do remember living there. But then I've been in the rest of Minnesota most of the rest of my life. So lots of you know Bemidji, although I know a lot of us, you know, Iowa and Minnesota, you probably have heard of Bemidji. If you're not, maybe not. One of the claims to fame for that town is, well, first of all, it's the first city on the Mississippi River. But also, have you watched this like National Lampoon's Family Vacation movie, and they flip through all those postcards at the beginning, and one of them is of Paul Bunyan and Babe the Blue Ox, and that statue is in Bemidji, Minnesota. So if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen that statue pop up every so often if we're up visiting family and friends. So, ooh, that's right. Taylor's got that Brutus Monroe thing coming up this weekend. So if you're a part of that, you get to be crafty with Taylor this weekend. That sounds exciting and fun. Like I said, I'm going to I'll probably bring my knitting and, you know, other things like that. And we'll have games up there as well. Debbie said her husband lived in Thunder Bay. I have been to Thunder Bay as well. Rita says Grand Forks is the city we went to shop at. Yeah, I suppose, because it's kind of like Grand Forks, Bemidji's kind of in the middle, and then Duluth, and there's really not there's little towns in between, but there's not a whole lot up there. Candy's doing the Brutus Monroe event also. Good morning, Vicki. It's good to see you. So yeah, so we're camping this weekend, and I'm looking forward to it, even with the rain. You guys, do you remember my story about the camper getting frozen to my car when we bought this back in like January or whatever? So this camper has been a little bit of a heartache for us, because on our second trip out, we took it to South Dakota, and then we took it to Grand Marais on the North Shore, and our slide on our camper malfunctioned and broke, and we have spent most of the summer with it in for repair, going back and forth with warranty and everything, and we finally got it back, and we're ready to camp in it, and it's gonna work, and it's gonna be good. So it'll be good. Hi, Donatella from Rome. That's so far away. I can't, you know, imagine. I suppose it's like, you know, for us, it's like 10 in the morning. So I'm sure for you, it's quite later in the day. Unless you're like Rome, a city Rome in like United States or whatever. Good morning, Annette. It's good to see you. So this week, I don't know if you guys have paid attention to the blog, but there really hasn't been a whole lot of anything on the blog. And part of it is we have our moving sale going on, and part of it is that we're working on some blog maintenance this week. We've got a quiet week with the sale, and so we didn't have a whole lot going on. So I apologize for that. Hopefully over the weekend, everything is going to get all fine-tuned and back into working order. Pay attention to our social media and that sort of thing. And if you're subscribed to the blog, you should get pushes when the new posts go out. But this week has been really quiet on the blog. It is the moving sale this week. And so there is a sale category on our web store, and we have a whole bunch of products in that category that are 30 to 60% off. If you didn't hear, which I'm sure you have, we are moving to a brand new building, which for me doesn't change a whole lot because I'm up in Minnesota, but when I go down to visit, I cannot wait to be able to be in the new building and check it out and be there when I go down for meetings and different things that we do down there. So anyway, we don't want to move everything, even though it's kind of like right across the street. We want to lessen our inventory so that it's easier to get everything moved to the new building. So there's a sale category. In that sale category, if you spend $75 or more, you get an extra 5% off. And if you spend $150 or more, you get an extra 15%. Yeah, so it's a great time. If there are things you've had your eye on, check that sale category out. There's lots of good things in there. It's not necessarily things that are going to retire. So Taylor kind of talked about that on Tuesdays. So don't think that this is your last chance to get some of this. Some of it may not come back. We kind of take that on a case-by-case basis depending on things. So Cindy said she did her part to help. Yes, it's a great time. Yeah. It is. Perry, moving is, I think about, because we are talking about a move at some point. We're kind of in the city in St. Cloud, and I'd love to be out and have a little bit of land. So this has been a discussion at our house. But I look around my house and I go, this is going to be a lot. Because we were like in a little tiny house, and then we moved to this house, and that was a lot. And we have, now we've been here for how many years? Almost 10 years now. So yeah. Ooh, and Charlie just posted something else up to pay attention to. If you are thinking about Stamp Joy but have put off registering for whatever reason, tomorrow is the last day to sign up for Stamp Joy, both the virtual and the in-person. So if you were thinking about it, this is your last chance to do it. Please join us, whether it's online or in person. It's so much fun to kind of socialize with our fellow crafty friends, and I would love to meet you in person. Come stamp with me. I'm doing one of the classes down there. I'm doing alcohol ink. So come get messy and alcohol inky with me. We'll have a great time. And there's so much fun going on. I think I've mentioned my mother-in-law is coming. She was just texting me this week. She is working on her swap cards. And so she was making sure she had all the details right for that, because she really enjoyed that last year. I remember sitting in the hotel room with her, and we laid out all the cards that she got and looked at all of them. And it was I just love card swaps. They're so much fun. So I don't know that I'll be swapping, but she is definitely swapping. So it'll be super fun. Candy said, you took my class. That'll be great. Candy says I should move to Duluth. We are talking north. We don't really know for sure, Candy, but I have a lot of family in Duluth. So that has been a discussion. But yes, everybody come to Stamp Joy. It's so much fun. So yeah, so let's see, what else should we talk about? How about what's coming next week? So this week's been a quiet week with our moving sale, but we're jumping right back into releases. We did our Halloween release, not this week, but last week. So there's all these new Halloween goodies, and we're going to do a Halloween project today that I can't wait to do, because one of the things is we don't get assigned to use all the product for the release, because that would be insane to do so many projects. I love doing projects, but so I was able to take some time and play with another idea that I had with a project, another product set from that release. So we'll do that in a little bit, but next week is going to be our autumn release. So we're thinking, and I was just, when I was crafting last night, I was thinking about this. I'm like, oh, I just love the autumn stuff coming in, and it's making me feel like something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to cooler weather. I'm looking forward to fall leaves. I'm looking forward to that. And I think it just kind of hit me last night when I was doing all of my projects that, you know what, fall is one of my favorites. Winter's my top favorite, but fall is one of my favorites. And so I'm really excited to get there and, you know, my kids Hannah is going back to school at St. Cloud State at the college here. They start on Monday, so it's like a transition, you know, like summer feels like, okay, we've had our summer, right? Not that you want it to end, but do you know what I mean? And so she starts on Monday. Tacey's out of school, so we don't have to worry about a school schedule for her. But I don't know. It's just, I look forward to going to the apple orchard and pumpkins and sweaters and I'm a knitter, so I'm like, and I can wear all my cozy knits and stuff. So next week is fall. So I've got a sneak peek for you. I guess I didn't say that I had a sneak peek, but yes, I have a sneak peek. So these are my projects for next week's release that I'm going to show you a peek of. So you're seeing a really small taste of what's coming next week. There'll be a sneak peek. We're going to try to get it on the blog this weekend. If not, check social media. Charlie will make sure that it gets out that way. So the first project I have for you is this set of cards. Woo, woo. And as you can notice, there's a little bit of foiling happening there. There's some warm fall colors. There's some new sentiments. There's some fun new stuff. So that's one new kind of product collection that's coming out this next week. So I hope you enjoy that. So let me just say that if you like foiling, obviously there's foiling coming next week. But the kit that's coming the next week after, actually I have my projects done for that. And Susan's next week, so I don't know. I'm going to send my projects down, so we'll see if they share them or not for a sneak peek. But there's foiling involved with the kit as well. So, yeah, so that was one. You guys look like you liked that. So here's another. So a lot of times when I do projects for a release, I kind of like to create on a theme and a color scheme. And this time that didn't happen, really, because as you'll see here with this next sneak peek, these products that I was assigned were completely different looks. So here is the sneak peek of the other project that I did for this release. So this is a set of tags and there's some cute little characters. I am so getting used to this reverse camera thing, you guys. So these might seem familiar. We've had some other things come out recently in spring and one just for Halloween as well. So they're super cute and adorable and perfect for fall and other stuff too. These little critters are gonna be fun. So here's one more peek at them because they're super cute. Very cute, cute, cute. Yes. So that's my other project. So the two completely different styles of projects that I'm sharing next week. And there's more coming from the team. I've seen the projects come in. There's so much goodness coming for next week. Trisha says hoodie weather. Yes. I love wearing a good sweatshirt. I get tired of the tank tops. So yes, the moose. Everybody's excited about the moose. He's adorable. I love the fox. The fox is they're all cute. You guys, they're all cute. So should we get crafty here? Let's flip. I'm going to flip you up to my ceiling and then flip you down to my desktop. So, and actually, yeah, let's flip you up to the ceiling. I think I told you I have like a new kind of tripod thing. So I am going to try to flip correctly. Here we go. There we go. So you might recognize this cute little set that came out as part of our Halloween release. This is the Stack O' Jacks. There's a stamp and stencil combo, so we're going to be using those. So it has a red rubber stamp set and then a stencil to do all of your coloring. And then there is a coordinating die. So we'll be using all of that to create. If you have followed me long enough, you know one of the things that I really love to do for different holidays is create personalized tags for some of the special people in my life. And sometimes this is just part of my gift. Like we'll attach these to treat bags with little Halloween treats and things like that for my girls. This is my daughter's boyfriend, Jared. My husband, I needed my own tag too. So I'm going to show you how I created this tag. This came into my head when we were doing the release. I'm like, this would be an adorable tag. So I set that onto a stitched banner stacklets die, and we'll do all of that. So I'll show you how, if you have been wondering, or maybe you have the set and you need some inspiration to get started, how to use that stamp and stencil together to do all of the coloring on the pumpkins. So that's what we're going to do today. And the base, and I'll show you how I do letters. We'll see. I have talked so much. Yes, let's get going. Let's get crafting. Okay. So let's start off and stamp this pumpkin guy. So I've got my Misty. I was usually change my paper, but I just left this. But this is from the kit, just in case you were wanting a sneak peek of the kit, that would be right there. But that's not going to show you a whole lot, right? Okay, so I have a piece of sugar cube cardstock, and I'm going to start off by stamping this stack of pumpkins with Oreo ink on sugar cube cardstock. So again, I put my cardstock in there, I set my stamp, I'm going to pick my stamp up. I have my little stack of inks here, and of course the black is not on top. So there's my Oreo ink. Rita said, I thought I did not need this set. I see that I am wrong. I think sometimes when you see products, it sometimes takes just seeing that right project to make you need it, right? Because I've done the same thing. I've been like, oh, I don't know if that's like my favorite set. And then you see a project come in, and I am not using my press tool, which I should be. You see a project come in, and then that just changes everything, right? Okay, so I've got the little pumpkins inked up, and then we're going to add color. So this outline image you absolutely could color in with your favorite coloring medium, colored pencils, Copic markers, other types of markers and mediums, and that sort of thing. But if you want to color quickly, that's why we have the stencil system set up like this. So it's got 2 sets to color the pumpkins, and then you can add the faces and the witch hat. Now, I did see somebody on the Fans of Tailored Expressions Facebook page take this and make it into a pile of fall pumpkins, and it turned out adorable. So check it out if you are looking for another way to use this project. I don't remember who it was that did it, but it was really cute. So, okay, so I'm going to do something. You guys are going to be surprised. I'm not going to use pixie spray on this stencil because I'm going to be doing embossing. And when I was doing these, making them, I did the pixie spray, and I had trouble with the embossing powder sticking to places I didn't want it to stick. The powder tool definitely helps with that, but sometimes it's just too sticky. So I'm going to use, I have this tape that I'm going to use for masking, and I'm just going to use that also to hold the stencil down. So I'm going to start with this one here, and this is going to do the top, and then this, pumpkin, and then the little band on the hat. And when I'm lining the stencil up, I'm making sure that I can see just a touch of the black around, and that way I know the color is going to go all the way to that edge. So I'm just going to hold this down here and then put another piece of tape actually right here. No, actually, here. This is where I need it. Okay, so this first one I'm going to do, I did all of them in shades of orange. So I've got the candy corn, the sweet potato pie, and pumpkin. So I'm going to start with candy corn. I've got my blender brushes. When I was doing this last night too, I was mass producing, so I was doing lots of pumpkins to make my pile. And really, it didn't take me that long to stamp and color all of those pumpkins doing it with the stencil. So I'm just going to do the candy corn ink. I'm using my brush in both a clockwise and counterclockwise direction to make sure I fill out that whole area. And then I'm going to come back with a bitty blender brush and the sweet potato pie, which is a little bit darker shade, just to add some shading. I'm doing the sides. And also just right under like the top, because when they're stacked, you can see they kind of overlap. So to me, there would be a shadow on the sides, and then kind of under that little brim of the hat, or under this little pumpkin bottom of the pumpkin above that one. So that's what makes sense to me for the shading. And the bitty blender brushes just let me do that tiny bit of shading on the side, gives me more control over that. So, okay, so that's the first orange layer. And then you're going to slide that stencil over to use these 2 pumpkins to color here. I need to put my lid on there, otherwise I will get ink all over. So again, I'll line this up. We have a couple other stamp and stencil sets like this where it colors in your image, and I think it's there's a flamingo and there's a toucan. Now, I will say it doesn't color absolutely everything in, so you are going to have to do a little bit of coloring with the marker. So the little leaves aren't colored and the little buckle, but those are such tiny areas, they're really easy to get the color in there. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that all down, and this time I'm going to start with sweet potato pie for the base color of the pumpkin. And as you can see, this goes super fast. And there are a lot of people that really enjoy to color with markers and things like that because it's kind of a meditative or calming activity for them, and that's just fine. So if that's what you like to do for coloring, that's just fine. But if you want it to be quick, these stencils make it so quick. So the base color is going to be just like a shade darker than the other pumpkins. And then I'm going to come in and add shadows with the pumpkin ink, which is very fitting for this image. And I'm right in my way, blender brush. So my girls are, since they're both older, we really don't do all of the trick-or-treating. I don't have big classrooms of kids to send little treats in for and things like that. So we just do kind of a fun gift for Halloween. And we ended up, like, one of our things that we like to do, and we have a neighborhood that's very busy for trick-or-treating, but sometimes we just turn our light off and we watch Halloween movies, and that's just what we do. Yeah, Julianne said, with stencils, you hardly go out of the lines. I am known to go out of the lines with my markers and stuff. Yes, I do. So there is that cute pumpkin, all blended and colored. I am going to add the black, but I'm going to just set this aside for a minute and just let this ink dry a little bit because like I said, I'm going to be embossing over the top. So I want this ink to just dry a little bit. So while that's drying, I'm going to work on the tag base. So I'm just going to set this aside. And if you have stuff like this, I know the want is to just keep going and make things go quickly, but give it a minute to dry if you're going to be doing embossing or anything over the top, because you're just going to have better results. It's going to be easier. Give it time to do its thing. So to do the tag base, which I showed you the tag base. So I've got my toffee cardstock, surprise, surprise. And then that background is this stencil, which the name has escaped me. I want to say it's like jack-o'-lanterns or something like that. You can love the ease and speed of stenciling versus stamping and coloring. Absolutely. I think that it's a different look and feel than stamping and coloring. It definitely is. So, okay, so this is the little jack-o'-lantern stencil. Charlie, you can correct me if I've got that name wrong, but I'm going to stencil that onto this piece of toffee cardstock. This has pixie spray on the back and it still feels pretty sticky, so I'm just going to line this up. And I wanted to line it up because I'm going to cut that stitch banner stacklets out of this, but I want the faces kind of centered on this piece of cardstock. I just cut this cardstock a little bit bigger than that biggest die cut on that set. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, this is the die set I'm going to use for the tag base. So this is the stitched banner stacklets die collection. You can make a tag out of just about anything. Okay, Charlie said I'm right. It is jack-o'-lantern. Okay, so I'm going to do a tone-on-tone background because I want it to be Halloween-y, but I want it to not take over the rest of my design. So I'm just going to do a tone-on-tone look. So I've got my toffee ink and I've got dust on my blender brush. And we're going to stencil up these jack-o'-lanterns. These are so cute. And there's so many different stencils you can use to do it. You can even use a background stamp. Just stamp a neutral tone-on-tone background and then you're good to go. I think the stenciling has opened up just a whole new thing in the paper crafting world. It's like stencils have always been around, but they kind of were, to me, kind of, I guess you would call stereotyped into a home decor type of a thing, you know, doing a little border on your wall or on your dresser or something like that. And I love that it has expanded to using it with our paper crafts. Such a cool thing. Yeah, the jack-o'-lantern stencil works perfectly for faces on the stacked pumpkins. Yes, you could definitely do that. And there is a die as well, so you can cut the faces out, like if you wanted to cut them out of like glitter paper or something like that. This will cut out a whole ton of pumpkin faces that you could add to these pumpkins, or we have other pumpkins you could add them to as well. And they coordinate together, so you know you could use them together somehow as well. So there's that. And the pattern doesn't go all the way top to bottom, but we're going to cut this out. And it really, you can barely, that is not even an issue. See how that lines up once you get the die cut out? It's going to be just fine. Beth says, so stenciling and foiling has become favorites. They definitely are. I didn't know how much I would be foiling. Like if you told me I'd be foiling as much as I am, I'd be like foiling, because foiling's been around too. It's one of those things that has been around, but it's just not something that I thought would get as big as it did, and it did, which yay for us. It gives us all these other options for creating. All right, so let's take this up and we're going to cut out this tag. Like I said, my pumpkins are just giving them a minute to dry. So we'll cut this out. Candy said she used stencils to make wrapping paper. Yeah, and the big chunky foam stamps, which you still see those sometimes, but not as often as you used to. Like the stencils and the chunky foam stamps were kind of a big deal. So I'm just going to lay this on here. Oh, thanks, Karen. She's saying that we have created some awesome stamp stencil products. It is fun to sit down and kind of go, what could we do? And it's been fun to see the things that we have come up with. As a product designer myself, to actually see, to get the product in our hand after we've talked about what we could do with these stamps and stencils, and then to have it in our hands and see it actually work. You guys, it's so awesome. And then to see what you all do with it, that just takes it to another level. So if you didn't think I love my job, I love my job, because that is super exciting for me. Okay, so let's set this aside and we can go back to this party over here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to stencil this in VersaFine Clair, and then we're going to emboss to add a little bit of sparkle with that black sparkle embossing powder. I love this stuff. Sometimes glittery embossing powders I'm kind of skeptical of, but this one is a good one. Okay, so I'm going to get my heat tool ready and plugged in. As well. So, okay. So now I'm going to take that same stencil. So everything you need is on this one stencil, because then we're going to line this up. And really you have to just line it up on the hat, because the faces, it's not terribly important that they fall precisely somewhere. So I'm really just lining up the hat up here. And then I need a little one here because he's sticking out right there. And I think I don't need it there specifically, but I'm just going to set it there for now. Okay, so the VersaFine Clear, if you have not used it, it basically is like a black pigment ink. And pigment ink is a thicker, more paint consistency of an ink. It's slower drying, and it's going to sit on top of your cardstock. So we started carrying this. It's great for stamping sentiments in a bright, crisp color. Usually only takes like one impression to stamp with it. But also you can use it to emboss, like in this situation here. I know Taylor showed doing, what did she do? And she stenciled, I think it was with the ghost background, and she stamped it, and then she stenciled the faces and embossed them with the black sparkle in the same way that I'm showing you here now. So, and it's definitely thicker and paintier. This would be one of those things where if you're going to use the VersaFine Clear on this brush, maybe you would use, dedicate it to that, or make sure you wash it out before you go back to your dye-based ink. So it doesn't take much to get this ink on here because it's definitely, it's there. Tracy said she's into the stencils too. Yes. Okay, so we'll take this off. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't use my powder tool on my pumpkins. So this could be an issue. You guys, it's right here. Okay, let's just see what happens. We might be able to save this. So you'll learn from me. I was going to powder tool this first before I inked this on top. This is real life, you guys. You guys see the edited versions of videos all the time. And yeah, that's not real life. So, okay, so let's just hope that the rest of the ink is dry enough that we're not going to have an issue. And it's pretty bad. It is pretty bad. We're going to have lots of black flecks. Let's just see if, we're going to just see if I can paintbrush this away. This might just be, we may just have to redo this. No. Oh man. Live TV, you guys. So I'm just trying to paintbrush those extra little bits that are sticking over everything. You know what? I'm just going to start again. If you guys don't mind, let me do this again. Oh, this makes me so mad. Oh, I feel like I should be able to save it, but I really should just walk away. Linda says, I'm glad you're a regular crafter. It gives her hope. Linda, this stuff happens to me all the time. Okay. We're gonna, I think, like, I get the award for the most, like, on-camera fails. Taylor does not fail like I fail. You guys, and the coloring is so good on there. Dang. Okay, let me get a piece of sugar cube cardstock. We're gonna go at this again. I don't know that that's gonna work, Candy, to do a hair, and I don't have a hair dryer down here. Lisa says things like this happen all the time when she talks and crafts at the same time. I think that's part of it, is I'm talking to you, we're crafting together. Debbie says black specks like a splatter. You know what? It's a little bit more than that. I think if you look really close, there's a lot of black on there. There's a lot of black on there. It's pretty bad. Ooh. And then look what I just did. Yes. This is my day. I'm leaving that. That's distressed. Okay, let's try this again. It goes pretty quick, so. And I will live on the edge, and we're going to try to powder while the ink is a little bit wet and we'll see how we do. Donna says, my boo-boos help us. Okay, let's try this again. Let me find my stencil. I'm going to go quicker this time so that we can do this more quickly. Debbie says she missed the first 22 minutes. Well, you didn't really miss anything because I'm redoing it. Now I'm using that Post-it removable tape, but if you just have like Post-it notes or something else to do your masking, Absolutely use that too. Okay, so we're gonna go back to these pumpkins, and I did candy corn. Oh my goodness. And I got a nice black smudge on my pumpkin already, probably from that right there. We're just gonna make this happen. Ugh. Now, I might, like if it was just me crafting, I might sit and try to pick those little pieces off. I might. But since it's you guys here with me, we're gonna make this. Yeah, Julianne's like, a good way to show how good the powder tool is. You're right. She's looking for the roses and the thorns here. And I realized it right as soon as I lifted that stencil off. Okay, so I'm adding shadows on this with the sweet potato pie. So there's one. Here's what, I'm going to show you this because I'll go back and fix this. But if you don't have your stencil up close enough, you're going to get a little bit of a white kind of halo. And you can fix that pretty easily by just resetting. The pumpkin on the bottom looks fine. But this one, I'm just going to reset that bottom right there. And just go over that with a little bit more of the candy corn ink to get rid of that little white part down there. Okay, so let's do the next shades of color. We will do this. It will happen. Okay, I am going to wipe this stencil off before because I have a feeling this black is going to not behave. Charlie. It's like when I accidentally spilled glitter. Do you guys remember Marilyn Monroe bot if you were at the spring Stamp Joy and we accidentally spilled, it was either embossing powder or glitter. I can't remember what it was. Yes, so we could demonstrate the robot. Yes. But that could clean up with the robot. This one, I have to just redo it. Okay, so this next one I did the shade darker. So the base of the pumpkin is the sweet potato pie. And then I'm going to shade with the pumpkin. Candy, I love real life. Do you? I mean, we could get really specific here about real life, and I know what you mean, though. Okay, so this time we're shading, adding the shadows in with pumpkin. And again, I'm adding my shadows kind of at the top, so that overlapping with that bottom part of the pumpkin and on the sides. We can spend more time with me. Thanks, Cindy. I have to pack my camper. It's okay. We have to go get the camper. We store our camper and then we go get it when we have a driveway, and the driveway has a nice angle to it, so we don't love... We can, because we have little blocks to stack it up to level it, but it's easier just to not have it in my driveway. Okay, so there is the orange pumpkins, and then this is where I need to powder it. So the ink is definitely still wet, and if I had the moment, I would let this dry just a little bit. You know, you're right, Kelly. I bet. Well, I don't know. Because if I do this, that ink is still probably wet. And I think that the black would smear. So I'm not really sure. I may just leave this. Maybe it'll dry. Because this did turn out really cute. I would say my blending is much better on this one than this one. But it's okay. It's all right. But I'm going to set it right there. Maybe I'll go back to it. Maybe I'll just be mad at it. We'll see. Okay, so I'm going to take the powder tool. You're right, Victoria, I'm going to take your advice. Let's heat it just a little bit here. And dry this ink just slightly. So that's definitely going to help. When I'm heating too, you'll notice I do the front of the paper and I also flip it to the back, because I mean the cardstock, even if you're not using embossing powder, it does tend to warp just a little bit, and going from both sides helps, I think anyway. Okay, powder tool, and we're gonna powder the heck out of this because we don't want specklies everywhere. And then we're going to take that stencil and we're going to line that hat up, because it doesn't matter so much with the faces because there's not a specific spot, but the hat, you definitely want to get it in the right spot. Oop. Yeah, that didn't stay. Okay, so I'm going back to the VersaFine Claire. I have an open black ink pad. Susan would not approve. And we're going to color in, or apply the color through the stencil for the hat and the faces. There are sometimes when I am creating, and I'm sure you can relate, where pretty much everything, you're just not on a roll. Okay, so there's our little black faces and everything. Now we're going to go back to the black sparkle. And we're going to just put that over. Much better. Check that out. So there's a very good example of what this powder tool does. Is there you can see there's just maybe minimal. And look at the speckles on that one. So if you wondered if that powder tool worked, that would be your proof right there. Bring this to product development and figure out a product to fix it when it happens. That would be actually awesome to have something that would take that static away after you forgot to use your powder tool. We'll work on that. I have no idea what that even would look like, but you know what? You never know sometimes what people are going to come up with. All right, so we're going to take this and we're going to heat this with the heat tool and melt that embossing powder till it's nice and shiny and sparkly. Super cute. There's that cute. So it makes their little mouths shiny, adds a little sparkle on there. I love it. Now, I am going to point out that I didn't get good coverage on the hat. So if I was on my own, which you guys, let's just do it. Let's put a little bit more on there because I would love to have a more solid hat. Since we're fixing mistakes today, so I'm just adding just over that top part. We're just going to redo the embossing powder and add just another layer up there. I always have to remember to put this back in the container, because if I don't, I stick my arm in it or the little tool blows it everywhere. Brenda, I think that's what I'm going to do, is wipe away the embossing powder, but this ink is a very slow drying ink, and being black, I'm afraid that it's going to really smear. So I don't want to do it now, so I'm going to let it dry a little bit, and then I'll probably try exactly what you're saying. We'll brush it off and redo it. So that pumpkin is not lost. So there we go. We've got the hat completely covered. And he is all set. So let's add color to these little leaves and the buckle. And you can use Copic markers for this, colored pencils for this. I have the new Olos. So these are not available in the TE web store right now, but if you were coming to Stamp Joy, Lori Craig from Global Creative is going to be there with these markers and show you what they can do. So me and my daughter is an art major for college. We split a set, so I have different colors on each end. I ordered the brush tip on both ends. So that's a peek at what they look like. And this is just tiny, tiny coloring, so it's really not showing you a whole lot. And I just did a gold for the buckle. So again, you can use Copic markers to do exactly what I'm doing. This I have a couple shades of green, so I have a darker and a lighter to do the leaves. So I'm just gonna color with a lighter and add just a touch of shadow with that darker color. So these work just like other alcohol ink markers. So adding that color with the dark and then coming back with the light color and blending it down. So I'm just putting down that layer of color. A leaf blower, no. I would blow my whole pumpkins away. So there's my coloring, adding color to my leaves and to the buckle. And let's cut this guy out now. All right, I have a disaster here with stencils and all sorts of things all over the desk. I'm sure you guys can relate to this. So I'm gonna bring this up just a little bit to get my die cut machine in here. And the die is going to just line right up over the top. I've got some removable tape here to hold that die in place. Just give me a moment while I line this up. It's take me a minute. Make sure I'm good. And then we'll cut this guy out. Oh, my handle's on the wrong side. Hold on. Oh my goodness. Grabbed for it and it wasn't there. Okay. So if you didn't note it or didn't catch this, my ink pad fell onto my tag base. But I think once I get that, and actually, you know what I'm gonna do? Let's just like pretend that this was just kind of a distressed job. We'll just do this on this tag. That's it. So of course I'm gonna need to splatter both of these because that is how I roll. So I have my Copic opaque white and I have my, I'm gonna start with black. I'm doing Oreo liquid watercolor for my one splatter. And I have that on here. This looks like a mess, but there is chocolate truffle and there's Oreo here. So I really just have it on a black and you can just pick it up with your water brush, re-wet it so that you can use it. Then we're gonna tap it to add splatters onto the tag base and to the pumpkins. I just got a paper towel here so I can wipe my brush out and then I'll switch and add the white splatters. Yes, Rita Bob Ross, happy accidents. All right, and I'll pick up that Copic opaque white on my brush. I'll add that to both of those. I am a big splatter lover. I know I talk about this all the time. I do think one of the things about splatters is it does kind of hide some of the imperfections that you might have on some of your projects. So I do have to show you, I was experimenting with adding more sparkle to a pumpkin. So this is an idea. I didn't do it today because I don't totally know if I'm in love with it, but I did take some of the Happy Medium glitter and sponge it over the pumpkin to add sparkle to the pumpkin. So my husband looked at it and I'm like, well, I like the sparkle. And he said, well, it looks like he has a dirty face, which he kind of does. But I do like the sparkle on there. So if you wanted a little bit more sparkle, that's another idea of something to use. So, and obviously when you put this on, you have to let it dry so that it's not wet when you're playing around with it. All right, so now the pumpkin is gonna go on the tag. First I'm gonna punch the hole at the top. So I've got my crocodile and I'm just using that little 1/8 inch hole and I'm just doing it right about in the center of the tag. And then let's pop this little guy up on the tag. I'm using one of those. This is from that roll of the foam strips like this that to use on the bigger pieces. So that's what I used on the back of that. That works great. This stuff is sticky. I had to readjust some things with this once and it is sticky. I should have said that, Charlie. He'd probably be like, what? What are you talking about? Okay, so there he is on the tag. So this is where I'm gonna add the personalization to the tag. So what I did for that is this tag is the tag team tag. So when the tag team die set comes with 3 tags. So like if you're mass producing tags, this is great because you can run all 3 through your die cut machine at a time. So I cut out a bunch of the tags. This is the sweet potato pie cardstock. It's with that little bit darker orange color. This one has a whole piece in there that, is it stuck? There it is. So I'm not going to cut out another tag because there it is. And then to personalize, Tailored Expressions has a few alphabet options. This is the mini caps and I think mini caps and numbers die collection. I bought this when I first started at Tailored Expressions and I have used it a ton. And I like it because it's small. Look at how perfectly it fits onto the tag team dies. You could also use it like across the bottom of something or whatever. One of my thoughts too would be cute. And of course you can't do this for a bunch of names because if there's only 4 pumpkins, but to do the letters down the pumpkins would be also very cute as well. There is the typewriter alphabet stamp set. That's another great alphabet set. That's the one that came out with the, Happy Hex kit. That was, I think, last year. Let me see if I can grab it so you can see it. Hold on. Yes. So this is a stamp set, so you could stamp and personalize with the stamp set. Or of course there is the cap. What is this one called? Cap it off? Cap alpha something caps. You guys, I look up the names and when I'm supposed to talk about them, they are gone. So there's a couple alphabet options for you to personalize. So like I said, I like this. And if you don't want to personalize, you can absolutely just do a sentiment on there as well. So I did, this is the black glitter cardstock. I've got a sticky sheet on the back of that. That's a double-sided sticky sheet. And that is, for me, when I'm doing letters, little die-cut letters, the best way to do that. So I thought I would do a tag for Taylor. Will she like my messed up tag? Oh. So I'm going to pick out the letters for Taylor's name. I did put these in alphabetical order, but this is how I put stuff away. So that doesn't go super well. Then I'm searching for letters. You'd think I would learn from that, but nope. All right, I'm gonna do those for her name. This time I have my little sidekick right here. We'll send that right through there. I'm going to tie the tag on here first before I add her name. So my name has 7 letters, so it kind of is a little bit big. I have kind of a, I have never enjoyed that I have a super long name. I like my name, but it's so many letters. And the story that this is something I remember from kindergarten, just as a side story, you guys, it's kind of funny. But when we checked in for attendance, we would have to write our name on like a chalkboard, and I had to write out Heather. And I remember feeling like I have a lot of letters in my name to write out. And the kid next to me, his name was Ed. He only had 2 letters in his name, which I thought was so unfair, that how could he only have 2 letters, but I had all of these letters to write. It was so much work. And I remember feeling that when I was little. So I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that my girls' names are only 4 letters long. And part of that is because I didn't want to give them big, long names. I wanted something short and sweet. And Chad he just got lucky that he has a short name, right? So, in fact, I used to ask my mom, like, can't I have a nickname or something like that, so that my name can be shorter? And there's really not a nickname for Heather. It doesn't shorten very well at all. So that's a little bit about me, you guys. Anyway, so my name is long. It doesn't fit on this tag real well without hiding. And this goes way back. Okay, so I'm just going to, I threaded this piece of twine through the tag, and I'm just going to attach this tag here. And of course you could get fancy and add extra stamping or whatever to this tag as well. I kept this nice and simple. We've got a lot going on our other tag already. And I'm just going to tie this on there. So this is just some black and white twine that I have. We have some twine in the TE web store that you can check out, but I just have a nice collection of twines that I like. Thank you, Barb. Rita, yes, kindergarten trauma. That's what that was. And I'm sure, like, would the teacher have thought that that was something that would just, like, stay with me forever? No. She probably, I bet if I ever met up with her and told her about that, she would be, are you serious? That's what you came away from kindergarten from? You came away with from kindergarten? Is my name is too long. I didn't like to write it out every day for attendance. Hi, Mariette from Sweden. We have an international audience today. So I'm just going to start at the bottom of the tag with Taylor's name and go backwards to make sure that I can get her. She has 6 letters, so only 1 less than mine, but still less than mine. And you can get precise with this. Like if you wanted to get a ruler and line your letters up, you sure can. I pretty much just eyeball it. Oh, Farley, I bet. When your name is, yes, I imagine that was definitely a thing for you. Which, if they didn't know, right? Okay. The little piece of the A was sticking there. But yeah, I pretty much just eyeball this. And the sticky on the sticky sheets, I mean, you can get this down and you can definitely like I'm thinking I want to go up a little bit here. And then redistribute the name. Okay, feeling like this L just needs to be shimmied just a little bit. So there. Oh, Charlie, I bet you fall right into that same bucket. So there we go. We have a finished personalized tag. I think I'm like right before 11, so I'm like right under the wire, even with our kind of project fail that happened. Like I said, I am going to go back and like when this dries, I'm going to take that off and I'm going to redo it because I can definitely re-ink that and do it back. So thank you for sticking with me and thank you for reassuring me that you like to see me make mistakes. Come back and again, most of my lives something goes wrong. So there's Taylor's tag and everything. So let me flip you up to the top to say goodbye. So you're going to go flipping up to my ceiling and let's flip you this way. I'm not going to reverse you this time. You've seen all of the things with all of the things. So, or you know what I mean. You saw all the samples with all of the letters going the correct direction. So for this last few minutes, we don't need to do that. So thank you so much for joining me today and creating, where's Taylor's tag? There it is. Creating Halloween tags with me. I hope that I inspired you. And if you weren't sure about this stack of jacks and how it worked, I hope I helped you learn how that goes together and how our powder tool is so awesome, right? So have a great weekend. Like I said, we're going camping, so I hope whatever plans you have, everything goes great. Have fun at the Brutus Monroe event if you're a part of that. I know you guys are gonna have a blast. So thanks again so much, everybody. Have a great day, and I'll see you in a couple of weeks. So goodbye, everybody.